Well, happy Thursday to you, and thank you for joining us this midday. I'm Morgan Young. We are beginning with meteorologist Greg Fields. Greg, no rain today, maybe a bit humid, but that might change going into the weekend.
Yeah, we are talking some storm chances, very low ones though, so we do want to emphasize that across the area. But that is one of the things you need to know as we get you started here. We will have some weekend storm chances, and I know we're already thinking about the weekend. I know I am. We're planning those, making those plans, but we will have some storms each day beginning tomorrow, heading on into Saturday. Probably not so much on Sunday, but we'll get more into detail about the timing and what to expect there. Now, a couple of these storms, if they're able to develop, could be strong and maybe severe with hail and wind. So we'll talk more about that as well. Outside of that, it's going to get warmer out there, very warm, in fact, as we head into tomorrow. Quite breezy as well with those south winds. And yes, a little more humid it is out there for you today. Looking at those cloudy skies right now, looking at downtown Dallas, 71 degrees. Those south winds picking up a little bit at 13 miles per hour. And as we look at the temperatures elsewhere around, we do have those upper 60s along the Red River, still low 70s as you come down to Denton right now at 73, and we're warming back into the lower 70s elsewhere around North Texas. A little warmer. We have a little more sunshine out to our west right now. That's where the warmer air, the warmer temperatures will be for today, but it is going to be breezy and warm for all of us later today. We'll have those temperatures close to 80 in and around the Metroplex, those gusty south winds at 15 to 25. Now, as we get into this evening, you see that very slight chance for an isolated thunderstorm. That's going to be mainly up along the Red River, so we'll talk more about that, but coverage only about 10% as we head toward midnight tonight. But again, we'll bump those rain chances up to about a 20% coverage as we head into tomorrow, so we'll talk more about what to expect as we wrap up the week, and of course that all-important weekend forecast coming up here in just a little bit. But now, Morgan, back to you.
All right, Greg, thank you. Navy Secretary John Phelan is out effective immediately. The Pentagon announced Phelan's departure Wednesday, with Undersecretary Hung Kao stepping in as acting secretary. Sources say Phelan was given the option to either resign or be fired, though the reason for his departure remains unconfirmed. Phelan is a businessman and Trump campaign donor with no prior military service. This removal comes as tensions escalate in the Strait of Hormuz, where U.S. naval forces are now in a standoff with Iran. Tehran has seized commercial ships and released dramatic video showing Iranian forces boarding a vessel at sea. The White House downplayed this incident, saying the ships involved were not American or Israeli. Meanwhile, tankers remain stuck outside the strait, with some captains refusing to move without security guarantees, as Iran signals more seizures could come. The Tanner Horner trial continues today as a jury decides whether he will face the death penalty for the murder of 7-year-old Athena Strand. Now, the sentencing phase is focusing on testimony from family members and people from his past. For their safety and privacy, witnesses are being blurred in court coverage. So far, they've described a home life marked by chaos and drug use. Our senior investigative reporter Tanya Iser is following this case live with expert analysis throughout the day, explaining what each side hopes to convey to the jury through these witnesses. And our gavel-to-gavel coverage, again, going on right now. You can watch the full thing on WFAA+, which is always free to download to your smart device. Well, today, the Greater Dallas Planning Council held a breakfast meeting with the Dart Board chairman as Dallas gets ready for a major influx of visitors ahead of the World Cup. Dart leaders call the partnership essential as the agency and the city are going through major changes. Our Richard Solomon was there.
This breakfast gives members of the Greater Dallas Planning Council a chance to see how they can support DART. And with events like the World Cup inching closer and closer by the day, organizers say this event couldn't have happened at a better time. The GDPC is made up of architect, engineers, construction professionals, and urban planners. The breakfast gives them a chance to figure out what ways they can help the service. It also comes just days after the agency rolled out its transportation plan for the World Cup. DART plans to use a mix of regional rail service, dedicated bus routes, and expand light rail capacity. That includes roughly 50 buses running between Dallas and Arlington, using a directional express lane along Interstate 30. DART Board Chairman Randall Bryant says the agency is already navigating a period of change, including naming a new president and CEO just days ago. He says partnerships with groups like this are critical to DART's future, especially as thousands are expected to rely on public transit in the months ahead.
The amount of people that are anticipated to come to this region, transit has to play a vital option for the ability to move around not just people, but commerce.
And next week, voters in 3 cities will head to the polls for a special election to decide if they want to pull out of DART or not. DART says if that happens, they do have an extensive plan in place. For now in Dallas, I'm Richard Solomon. Back to you.
Well, T-minus 8 hours and counting until one of the biggest days of the year for football fans, the start of the NFL draft. We're taking a look at Pittsburgh, host of this year's draft, and it could be a wild one for Cowboys fans. The Dallas Cowboys have 8 picks in this year's draft right now, 2 in the first round, number 12 and number 20. That second one, of course, coming from Micah Parsons' trade to Green Bay. Talking to me now, joining me rather, is Locked On Cowboys podcast host Landon McCool. Good midday to you, Landon. Thank you for being here.
Happy Draftmas.
There we go. There's a lot to discuss, so we're just going to dive right into it. Jerry Jones shared his draft outlook during a press conference yesterday. Is there a chance we could really see some wheeling and dealing here?
Yeah, I certainly think it's possible. I mean, I think that has to do with the fact that the Cowboys have a lot of ammunition, as you pointed out. I also think it has a little bit to do with the fact that there isn't a lot of elite quarterbacks or offensive tackles or edge rushers at the top. There are a couple of blue chip players in this class, but not the normal amount that we would expect that would draw interest up at the top. So I do think it's going to cost less to trade up, which may make it more enticing for the Cowboys. But I also think that because there's a kind of plateau of talent, there's also options for them to trade back and pick up some more picks. So this is really one of the more wide open drafts for the Cowboys that I can remember. What
would you say, what do the Cowboys really just need right now?
Well, how long do we got? Certainly mostly on the defense. I mean, honestly, any position on the defense. I think linebacker is the position that comes to mind just because they simply need another starter there. When they, I think you could squint your eyes and make out starters at edge and corner if you needed to. But I also think that edge and corner are the more likely picks to get taken in the first round just because of positional value. So I think the Cowboys desperately need to kind of come away from this draft with players that can be viable for them at linebacker, corner, edge, and then maybe tight end later down the road just because they have some needs there eventually as he has some expiring contracts.
And speaking of that, a name that keeps coming up in mock drafts for the Cowboys is Ohio State linebacker Sonny Styles. What do you think? Is that someone that they've got their eye on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The question really becomes, can he make it to them at 12, or would they trade up for a off-ball linebacker? Because he is one of these guys that is generally viewed as being one of the blue-chip players in this class. Obviously, a big part of that Ohio State defense. There's obviously several of these guys at the top from that really vaunted Ohio State defense, but he's the guy that wore the green dot. It would be a really natural fit for what the Cowboys want to do with Christian Parker's defense, so it would make a lot of sense if they could find a way to come out of this draft with Sonny Styles.
I know you said this whole thing is wide open, but are there any other names that you think that we could see?
I think that the top names that are the kind of blue chip guys that they would love to get are obviously Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, as you mentioned, David Bailey, Caleb Downs. Those are the 4 guys that really, if they could find a way to come away with any one of those, it would be a home run at 12. Otherwise, if they kind of, get wiped out there, Mansour Delane, who's a cornerback from LSU, Dylan Thieneman, who's a safety from Oregon. There's been talk about them potentially taking a wide receiver like Jordan Tyson if they get completely wiped out on defense. Those are some names to keep in mind. And then at 20, Keldrick Falk is an edge at Auburn. Colton Hood is another cornerback from Tennessee. Malachi Lawrence. There's lots of options at 20. 12 is where the Cowboys are going to be really kind of holding their breath to see what happens above them.
All right, we've got 1 minute left with you, so I've got to ask this question. I mean, when we talk about the legends that the Cowboys have on hand to announce their picks, we've got an actual Pittsburgh guy in Tony Dorsett, and of course, someone who could create quite the stir at another draft in Pennsylvania, Drew Pearson. What can we expect from them?
Listen, I think they're all kind of following Drew's lead, right, and trying to rile up the crowd. So I'm certain that, being home at Pittsburgh and in front of a semi-favorable crowd, as much as you're going to get for a Cowboy in Pittsburgh land, I think he's going to rile everybody up and get excited for the pick for sure.
Exciting. Thank you for joining. What did you call it? Did you call it Draft Miss? Is that what you said?
Draft Miss. Yes, we're on Draft Miss. Everyone open your presents.
Very Draft Miss to you. I hope it goes well. I hope Cowboys fans are excited and happy and that this is exactly what they need for it to be their year. Love it.
Me too. Let's go Cowboys.
Y'all, so much more we just couldn't get into here, but they'll be breaking it down on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show that is coming up today at noon on our streaming app WFAA+. And if you miss it, maybe you're at work, maybe you're having lunch, that's okay. It re-airs daily at 9 p.m., so you can catch it then. And do not miss all the action from the NFL Draft. Round 1 is live right here on WFAA tonight, starting at 7 o'clock.